Hi, how are you? Welcome to this week's episode of our Town Hall series hosted by Certified PA Consulting. I'm Kasey D'Amato. I am a PA, President of Certified PA Consulting. I've been a PA since '03. We started Certified PA Consulting in '09 because of my experience and my partner's experience with practice management. We were involved in practice management and administration early on in our careers, learned a lot about business. We've then gone on to start other non-clinical businesses. We own multiple businesses, raised capital, have sold businesses, everything in between. Now I devote my time to helping other medical professionals understand the fundamentals of business. So whether it's negotiation, whether it is business strategy, whether it is career coaching, I help people navigate these waters. It's not things that were taught in PA school. I was very fortunate to have a supervising physician and mentor who taught me a lot about business early on. And then throughout my other ventures, I've had boards of directors, very successful business people coaching and advising me along my journey. And at this stage of my life, I'm fortunate to be able to pay this all forward back to my peers and colleagues. So I hope you find our video series helpful. We talk a lot about negotiation strategy, a lot about business startup, a lot about career transitions, and just professional issues that aren't really addressed in PA school, medical school, nursing school, or any of the above. So today we're talking about what happens if you don't agree with your supervising doc, if you're a PA or NP, and if you're a physician, same, if you have a disagreement with your PA or NP. So number one, the first that I want to just get out of the way right away is if there is a disagreement that is something that is potentially illegal, then that is something that needs to be addressed right away. If you are PA or NP, then I would plan your exit. If there is something going on in your practice that is illegal, I would get out as quickly as possible. Hopefully it's not something that is affecting you personally, but I would not affiliate yourself at all with that particular practice. If there is something going on with patient care that you feel that patients are at risk, then that is something that you need to address also immediately with your supervising doc. Again, get out, plan your exit, and if you need to, report that to medical boards and powers that be to make sure that patients are well taken care of. So I want to make sure I got those two things out of the way right away. If there is something going on that is harmful, potentially you perceive as harmful to patients, that is, like a supervising physician or somebody that is impaired, on drugs or something like that. There's something going on that is harmful to patients. You need to get out, plan your exit, separate yourself from that person, and make sure that patients are taken care of, whether that is reporting that person to the medical board or what you need to do to make sure that patients are, patient safety is number one. If there's anything that second category, anything illegal going on, whether that is potential fraudulent billing or anything like that, again, plan your exit, get out of there. Don't, associate yourself, move on, and you have no part of that. If there's something that's personally affected you, contact a lawyer, an attorney, if you feel that you haven't been compensated or they're withholding your pay or bonus or something like that, you may need to talk to an attorney. So those are the two I want to get out of the way. After those, there's a lot of gray zone. What happens if you disagree with your supervising physician over the treatment plan? What if you have a different thought? Now, these are not illegal, or these are not in the best interest of the patient. This, you could go to any provider. If you go to 10 providers in the same specialty, physicians, PAs, you're going to get 10 different opinions. So it's normal to have some difference of opinion. That is not something that is illegal or harmful necessarily. It's normal to have differences of opinions in the medical profession. There's lots of data out there actually that if people go and get multiple opinions, you may get different opinions every single time for the same exact condition. So this is something that happens a lot. So what do? If you are working with a supervising doc and they have a different of opinion on the treatment plan than you have, then you want to talk about what are the pros and the cons. You want to do what's the least risk first, of course. What's the least risk first? How do you have close follow-up with the patient so that you can then potentially change the treatment plan and communicate this to the patient? It's okay to say there's a couple different options. We actually have a different opinion. We may approach this differently and we want to talk to you about it. Involve the patient in the treatment plan. Talk about the pros and cons. Talk about the follow-up plan, and that potentially all of you together may decide to change the treatment plan. So after you start, and that's okay. So open dialogue and communication is critical if you have a difference of opinion about the medical treatment plan. Now, the second category I want to touch on is differences of opinions on how the practice or facility is operating. So this is internal processes and protocols and things like that that might seem inefficient to you and you want to make some changes, or maybe they feel out of date. Maybe you feel like there needs to be a little bit more marketing, or there needs to be a little bit more updating to some of the processes and protocols. What if you feel that there needs to be an EMR? You're still on paper charts. And there's differences of opinions. What happens in these instances? These are more business related process and protocols. Obviously, having open dialogue and talking about the pros and cons and the why. Why is there an obstacle here? Is it just something that is not perceived as valuable from the practice owner? And in which case, ultimately, it's their practice. So if they don't see value in the EMR, even though you do and you believe that there's going to be less risk of miscommunication and better tracking of labs and things like that, if the practice owner still believes that patient charts are in the best interest, again, that's not something that is illegal. That is not something that's hurting the patient. That's just a difference of opinion. And ultimately, it's the practice owner's business to establish the processes and protocols within their business that they feel fit. Every single business in every industry, even outside of medicine, has processes and protocols. And it's up to the business owners or the senior leaders and management to establish those processes and protocols. And you may be somebody who loves to organize and get involved, and they may be very open to change and be welcoming. That's how I started getting into practice administration myself, is creating new processes and protocols for our private practice in Santa Monica, California. And it was welcomed because it was something that my supervising physician didn't like to do. He found it tedious and minutia, and he didn't want to do it. He wanted to focus on patient care and surgeries, and he didn't want to create tracking systems for the biopsies and staffing schedules for so that we could schedule hours and keep hours open during lunch and juggle support staff. He didn't want to do those things. So, for me, I like that. So processes and protocols were something that we actually agreed upon. I would make a proposal of what I thought. He would give some feedback, and then we would have a staff meeting and implement a lot of the ideas that I had. Now, he was supportive. In many cases, the supervising physician may not be. They might say, these are the hours, we are closing for lunch, or we stay open for lunch. This is how our staff schedule is structured. This is how we track biopsies. This is how we do things in labs, and I'm not open to change. It's their prerogative. That is not something that is illegal. That is not something that is hurting the patient. It's their prerogative to establish their processes and protocols. It's if they are the business owner or the senior management leader. So these are the kind of things that you want to think about when you're having a disagreement. Number one, is it something that is extremely dangerous for patient care? If so, number one, separate yourself, plan your exit, get out, and make sure that patient care is going to be highest quality. So whether you're in a hospital setting and you need to go to a senior person to report, or medical board, or whatever you need to do to make sure if that particular physician is impaired in some way, that is not going to ever hurt a patient, number one. Number two, if there's something illegal going on that's not affecting you, separate, get out, plan your exit, and move on. So you don't need to necessarily get in the middle of it. Just get out of the situation. If it is affecting you, then contact an attorney and, make sure that however it's affecting you is dealt with and taken care of. So those are the top two. Then when it comes to patient disagreements and the patient care, remember, it's normal to have differences of opinions, extremely normal. So it's a matter of then looking at the lowest risk and then communicating with the patient. We have options here. We have a difference of opinions. If you go and get other opinions, you're probably going to get 5 more different opinions. But as we talk about it, we're thinking start this, follow up. If we're not seeing improvement, we may switch to this. We want to make sure you understand the pros and cons to doing it this way and involve the patient in that conversation. And if it's something about processes and protocols, you can make suggestions. But remember, in any business entity, it is the business owner's right to establish their processes and protocols how they see fit. And that, assuming there's nothing illegal going on there, There is nothing that you can really say that is extremely harmful to the patient, like a paper chart and EMR kind of example, right? Like paper charts were around for decades and decades and decades. Are EMRs, do they improve patient safety? Probably to some extent, but that would be really hard to prove with a doc that's been using paper charts for a long, long time and is very comfortable with their paper tracking system of whatever they do, labs and all those kind of things. So you can make proposals there, but ultimately it's up to the practice owner or senior manager on how they operate from a process and protocols. So it's really, really important to understand if you have a difference opinion between you and your supervising doc, really classify what is it that you are having the difference opinion on. Can you involve the patient? Is it appropriate to involve the patient in this discussion? Is it business? And if it is, at the end of the day, it is the practice owner's business right to run the business how they choose. You can make suggestions, but ultimately if you don't like it, then it's time to move on and find a role where you align more with the fundamental business principles. Maybe you're more tech savvy. You want a practice that is a lot more sophisticated and modern when it comes to technology. Then if you can't force it and your current practice owner is not technology savvy, it might be time to just recognize that it's not the right fit for you and you want to move on to someplace that is more technology savvy. And that's your right? So we do lots and lots of coaching for PAs. If this is you and you're not sure how to navigate this type of conflict, feel free to reach out to us. We have lots of other videos. We do lots of private coaching. Click the links below. You can read more about our coaching services for life and career coaching, making transitions within clinical or even sometimes to non-clinical. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you on next week's Town Hall video series.